this is an important resource. This is a dead standing, dried out mullein stalk. I use these for hand drills, and when they get shorter, I use them for bow drills as the spindle. They're excellent for fire starting. This is one of those resources that, especially when it's a nice long straight one like this, I just don't pass it up. A mullein stalk like this usually grows on roadsides in areas that are a little easier to reach. This one is buried in some thorn bushes, so we're going to be real careful about pulling it out of here. But the center of the mullein stalk is very pithy, kind of almost styrofoamy in texture, so all I really have to do is score the woody shell on the outside with my sharp rock here and give it a bend. And it'll come loose. I don't need the top section, the seed head here, so what we'll do is score all the way around like so, and pop that right off. And of course we don't need all of the fluff and leaves and all that stuff, so we'll scrape that off too. And this will give us a real nice extra spindle. Actually, the length of it here will give us two real nice extra spindles. It'll be very handy for once our. It'll be very handy to have this extra material for when our spindles wear out. Over time, they do tend to wear out. You can get several dozen fires from a good spindle. But one of the things that makes the mullein work so well also makes it wear out kind of quickly. Alright, now we got that spindle material, that mullein stalk harvested, and there's enough length here definitely for a couple spindles. The top's a little narrow, but I think it's workable for sure. The bottom's pretty good. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, just to make this easier to carry, is cut it in half. To do that, I'm going to just use my stone knife again, or my little hand axe here, and all I need to do is score this all the way around. So like so. It here we go, cuts that woody shell on the outside, and forward and backward bend, it pops right in half, and we've got two really nice spindles. Those will be useful for our hand drill fire later. So we're almost to camp, and we found a bit of gold here. Now this is a very large tree that has succumbed to an infestation of carpenter ants, and probably some high wind or rain or something to that effect that added a little too much weight. Where this is really helpful for us, it's really tough to use a stone tool to make a feather stick. Feather sticks, if you're not familiar, they're a bushcraft trick where you carve up a stick so it's got little flakes of wood on it. It makes it easier to light fire. It's a really handy thing to have. When you find a deadfall tree like this, you can get natural feather sticks. which is going to be real nice. It's going to help us get our fire going. I'm going to take a minute and gather some of this up, slip it under the straps of the haversack, and keep on going. So, real helpful trick, let's call it, something to keep an eye out for when you're starting a friction fire in particular. But if you are in a situation where you need your fire to work and Tinder isn't necessarily super available or real great, look for something like this. Now this is rotten wood. It's a deadfall tree. But this particular rotten wood is sitting up off the ground. It's wind blown, it's south facing, it's dry, and you can see it's actually real spongy, real powdery. Now, it won't ignite very well by itself, but if we can get a coal on that, it should smolder really, really well. And we get enough of it smoldering, we can sort of build enough extra heat that even without really good tinder, which is going to be a problem today, we can still get our fire going without hopefully too much effort. So I'll show you how I make this work, and we'll go have a cup of tea. Dry grass is one of those more or less ubiquitous tinder sources. Easy to find, easy to gather, but you got to make sure that it's prepped properly. And you should be careful because some grasses like sawgrass can actually cut you. You want finer stuff like the blades, the leaves of the grass, and when we make this into a tinder bundle, we're going to break it up. There's sort of a waxy coating that develops on the outside of the grass, and that'll make it very difficult to actually catch our ember into fire. But we shouldn't have any trouble today, as this grass, again on a south-facing slope, is nice and dry, wind-blown, no snow on it at all. You can actually touch it to your face, and if it feels warm, it's totally dry. If it feels cool, it's still got some moisture in it. Now, in conditions like we have here in spring, dry tinder for starting your fire is at an absolute premium. One of the things I always carry in my fire kit and in my haversack, sort of stashed in a couple of places that are going to stay dry and protected and not get lost, is plant fiber string. That can be jute, hemp, nettle, milkweed, basswood, willow bark, all kinds of stuff. Depending on where you are, your resources might be different, or what hardware store you shop in. This is, I believe, jute fiber, which just happened to be what I had with me this time. And because this is nice and dry, and I've got a good bundle of it, we're going to use a few lengths, probably about a foot of it, to make our tinder bundle. And I'm going to do that by just shredding it up, unraveling it, and breaking it down into its fibers. That's going to help us get our fire going here. All we got to do is shred some of it up and just use that really fine fiber as the heart of our tinder bundle. Now, to build my tinder bundle, I'm going to be using this grass. I want to really break it up and fluff it up like this. It's going to be real dry, real crumbly, and that's really that's going to help us out. Inside of that grass, I'm going to have leaves from dried up ferns, which are again really dry and really crumbly. They're going to catch pretty quickly for us. And the center of that, I'm going to take that dried up string, or that shredded up string rather, also nice and dry. And I want to build this up so it's fairly dense. Now, this is just the beginning. We're going to need a little bit more grass there on the outside, and that's going to give us a handle. It's going to tie everything together and let us get some air in there so that we can get our fire going. And with that longer, stiffer grass to the outside, we've got a nice handle here. It's going to make it a lot easier for us to get our tinder bundle going. And one thing I'm going to do is take some of that dry punk wood and powder it in between my fingers here, and I'm going to add that powder into the center of my fine tinder bundle. I want that powder as fine as I can get it, and what that's going to do is give us a bit of a coal extender. We're also going to take a piece of it when we get our coal, or our little ember, and we're going to use that to help us really expand that ember, get as much heat as we can to light this tinder bundle up quick and easy. It's always worthwhile, whenever you have a fire, to warm and dry your feet. Especially if you have soft sole moccasins, because they'll soak up water like a sponge. It's also why I always carry a dry pair of moccasins. Now we've got our tent set up. Give ourselves a little block from the wind. We've got a nice little cook fire going. And we've got a real nice view out of the front door, if you can call it that. Now, You could see the tinder we gathered on site, the spindle we gathered this morning, the hearthboard I had already prepped and made up beforehand, so I knew that was good to go. But if you gather stuff while you're walking, you carry a few things to make sure that you have proper materials prepped and ready to go, then even with a truly Stone Age technique like a hand drill, you're good to go.